So this past weekend, I went to an estate sale that was mostly miniatures. And the woman that runs the estate sale company is actually a big fan of the Office of Collecting and Design, so she gave me a great discount. And I got this huge box of treasure, which I realize that's small in it, but if you think about miniatures, this is actually a pretty big size. And it's actually just one of two. Everything at the estate sale was taped up in little tins and boxes and drawers, so I don't really know what I got. So I thought it might be fun to unpack it together. Let's check it out. Like I mentioned, I couldn't really tell what I was getting when I loaded up my basket. A lot of times I would catch just a peek of one thing in the box, and that would be enough to convince me to get it. I can't remember why I picked out this Tupperware, but it was likely the baskets. I adore tiny baskets. We had a basket weaver come visit the museum recently, and she said something that really surprised me. She said that all baskets are handmade. There's no such thing as a basket weaving machine. Every basket we see is actually woven by human hands. I don't know if that's true, but I was very struck by it. We often think of everyday products as being mass-produced in some sterile factory somewhere, especially nowadays with 3D printing and resin pouring and the mysterious world of ultra-cheap Chinese manufacturing. And especially with how disposable everything feels. But the idea of a human crafting something is so much more precious. I think about that a lot with miniatures. I love the homemade ones. I love the old pieces that are ever so slightly imperfect. Even the items that may have been manufactured, but then are modified by the owner, decoupaged or painted or worn in some way. Amidst the glossy sheen of computer-generated images, their imperfections embody a sort of lost humanity. I often think about the Japanese aesthetic concept of wabi-sabi, a way of framing imperfections as part of the process and an essential aspect of beauty. A lot of the miniatures I got at this estate sale were homemade. Cake stands and candy jars made of buttons, bottles of tiny toiletries made from beads, houseplants made from plastic aquarium decorations. It's the ingenuity of items reappropriated, something that's lost its use, given value in some new way. It feels clever and accomplishable and useful all at once. But it's not just the homemade miniatures that hold that sort of charm. One of the things I hear visitors say most often here at the museum is that they love anything miniature. And obviously, so do I. But I'm curious as to why. Why do we love miniatures so? Simon Garfield wrote a book called In Miniature: How Small Things Illuminate the World. And in it, he suggests that part of our adoration for all things tiny stems from power and control. He writes, "The miniature world embraces control. The toys we enjoy as children invest us with a rare power at a young age, conferring the potency of adults and possibly giants. Toy cars and dolls and plastic construction kits are not merely pliable in our hands. They render us conquerors." I think this sense of control holds true for adults. In a world of chaos, war, trauma, miniatures can make up a whole new, more peaceful, more joyful world. Anything is possible in miniature. But I also think it's more than that, more than just a remaking of a better world at a smaller scale. For anyone that's been outbid as real estate markets skyrocket, doll houses and the miniatures that fill them can be a form of dreams manifested. It doesn't require a contractor and a team of workers to craft a room to your ideal specifications. Tired of looking at your neighbor's back wall? Build yourself a jungle diorama. Miniatures take aspirations, skip the step of feasibility, and deliver us directly to fulfillment. But in my view, it isn't exactly a feeling of fulfillment that draws us to miniatures. It's more complicated than that. Leslie Jameson explained it well when she wrote, "Miniatures are compelling because they are simultaneously alluring and inaccessible. They may be subject to our manipulation, but we can't ever go inside them. They simply aren't big enough to hold us. They represent possibility and impossibility at once, the siren calls of fantasy and daydream, but also their inevitable betrayals, their aloofness. The miniature world doesn't suggest total fulfillment as much as perpetual deferral, perpetual longing." Perpetual longing. There's something really potent there. Something stronger than satisfaction somehow. A sort of bittersweet poignancy that's all mixed up with our feelings of purpose and maybe our memories too. Dr. Varun Chaudhary, a forensic psychiatrist, quoted in an article by Real Simple, said, "Subconsciously, we associate tiny objects with the security and comfort they brought us in an earlier time in our lives." I think that applies also. Nostalgia is a powerful sensation. I often say that the museum functions like a sort of nostalgia machine, unlocking half-buried memories through long-forgotten objects. People sometimes cry during their visits here, seeing something that brings their childhood rushing back to them. There's a certain purity and awe and serenity that the memories surrounding these objects can hold. It's easy to see that miniatures could cause that flood of feelings. Maybe our love of miniatures is all of those things. Power, control, dreams, longing, comfort, security, memories, and nostalgia, all tightly packed into the tiniest package. Or maybe it's just as simple as the fact that they are really darn cute. I'm really interested to know what you think. Let's discuss in the comments. Why do you think we love miniatures so?